Okay, so we want to do 7.1, number 62, which says variously, part A, determine exact solutions of 2x minus 1 quantity squared minus 5 equals 0. Or B says find the zeros of the same, except it doesn't have the equal 0, right?
Yep.
And part C says determine the x-intercepts of the parabola f of x is the same thing, also without the equal 0.
Yep.
These are all the same question.
Yep.
Cool. So let's do the first one, and then we'll talk about why the other two are the same. All right, so to find exact solutions for this thing, what do I do?
Add the 5 to the other side,
Good. Why?
because it just makes it that much easier.
Okay. I would say it's, yeah, we want to solve, which means we should look for the last thing we do to an x and undo it, right? So if I put an x in, I multiply by 2, I subtract 1, I square that jazz, then I subtract 5. So the last thing I did was the, and then I subtract 5, right? So how do we unsubtract 5? Add 5. So I get what?
2x minus 1 squared.
Okay, so 2x minus 1 all squared is 5. So now what? Okay, so the last thing I do to an x when I put it in is square, right? So I should unsquare, just like this.
No, plus or minus.
Ah, very nice. Remember the freaking plus or minus?
Yep.
Okay, so I get what?
2x minus 1 plus or minus square root of 5.
Okay, so 2x minus 1 is plus or minus the square root of 5.
Yep.
Can I do any better than the square root of 5?
No.
Nah, not without going to approximately equals 2, right?
Yep.
Okay, and now what?
Then you divide by 2.
Add 1 to both sides.
I think add 1 is probably what I would prefer.
Okay.
We could divide by 2, but we'd have to divide this whole side by 2.
Yeah.
That'll leave me having to distribute a little bit. It's not undoable.
Yep.
I'd prefer if we added 1.
Okay.
So I get 2x is,
Plus or minus the square root of 5.
1 plus 5 square root of 5.
That's what I meant. 1.
1 plus or minus the square root of 5, right?
Yeah.
You guys with me on that?
Yeah.
Yep. And then you divide by 2.
Okay, and now we divide by 2. Be careful not to stick these together, right?
Yeah.
The 5 and the 6, or sorry, the 5 and the 1 don't make a 6. Why?
Because you don't have approximation. It's not an actual 5.
Yeah, because this thing's not a 5, right? This is the square root of 5, whatever the heck that is. All right, so we divide by 2, we get x is what?
1 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. The whole entire thing. Oh my god.
The whole left or right hand side over 2, right? So 1 plus or minus square root of 5, quantity over 2.
Okay. Very good.
Cool?
Yep.
All right. Now, am I done with this?
No.
You could be.
Not quite. I would like you guys to write x is 1 plus root 5 over 2, or x is 1 minus root 5 over 2. The reason I want you guys to do this is to highlight that there are 2 answers to this thing. Right, there are 2 solutions. I get 2 x values out of this thing. The reason for that is the answer to part C, kind of. You guys see this?
Yeah.
So here I was finding solutions of something equals 0, right? Okay, here they are. Here I want to find the zeros of the quantity 2x minus 1 squared minus 5. How do I do that?
Calculator.
No.
Okay.
Same thing you just did.
Yeah.
You think to yourself, okay, find the zeros of this. What does that mean?
Equals 0.
That means when does this equal 0, right? So I just set this, the thing they asked me to find the zeros of, equal to 0. And then I would solve, right?
Yep.
Oh, but I already did that. You see that?
Yep.
So, C part A, right?
Oh, I was gonna put same as A.
Okay, how about C? C says determine the x-intercepts of this parabola. What are the x-intercepts of a parabola?
Points.
Yeah, there's some points, right? Well, they're really the x values of some points. Maybe my parabola looks like this, right? We could actually figure this out if we spent a little more time fiddling with shifting rules.
Yeah.
But let's just assume it looks something like this. I at least know from shifting rules that it's pointed up, right? And then it's shifted down. This is some kind of left-right shift and maybe a shrinky, but whatever. Yeah.
If it's a fraction, is it always going to be a proportion?
It depends on whether it happens before or after the rule.
Okay.
This multiplication by 2 happens before the rule, and we didn't talk about that.
Okay.
So it's some kind of a horizontal stretch or compression, and we don't know what right now. And that's okay. If we have time later, we'll figure out how the before works. But so what I'm looking for is these two things, right? You guys see these are the x-intercepts? Why would we call them the x-intercepts?
It's because that's the lines across the intercepts.
Yeah, that's where the picture, right, intercepts the thing labeled x. You guys see that? Okay, so what are those? Well, those are where the y is 0, right? You guys see that's what this x-axis thing really is? That's when y is 0. So I'm wondering, when does this function have an output of 0, right? You guys remember that? That's because the points on this graph, those are an f of x pair, right? You guys with me on that? So I'm literally asking, when does this function output 0? Well, this function outputs 0 when the rule for it outputs 0. That's finding the zeros of the function rule. Oh, which is the exact same thing as solving the function rule set equal to 0. You guys see that? So for this one, we really could just write C part A.
Cool.
Cool. So they're all the same. Yeah, good.